Hey, it's Soul, and this is Warcraft Weekly, the show that applies pressure. Hit the like button, subscribe for more content, stare at my stream schedule somewhere over there, and let's talk about this pressure, because Season 4 of Shadowlands is ending October 25th. That's less than 2 weeks from now. That means season stuff is ending for PvP and Mythic Plus. And on the Mythic Plus side of things, it does kind of suck to be told on the last Tyrannical week that this is the last Tyrannical week of the season. Next week happens to be the last Fortified week, and spoiler alert, the affixes are Fortified, Spiteful, and Necrotic.
Fuck.
It almost feels intentional, like the WoW team is like, oh yes, dance for your mount. Fortunately, I have some good news. Just the other day, the WoW team updated their page of stuff that's going away, and they changed it so that Mythic Plus rewards can continue to be earned even after the season ends. That means the end of season date only applies to people who are going for the Shrouded Hero achievement and the top Gladiator achievements and rewards. That takes a lot of pressure off of who I refer to as Keystone Slackers, people who are interested enough to get the achievements, but not enough to have that, that sense of urgency till the very last minute. That's me. So next week, the kind of sort of final week of Shadowlands isn't going to be as frantic as some might make it out to be, but for the clicks, I might just try to make it frantic anyway. It's widely assumed that the patch will also drop the week of the 25th this month, and with this week's PTR labeled as a release candidate, we're just waiting on an official announcement that, as of this writing, we have not had yet. I've been asking aloud, at what point will the set bonuses stop working? Will they deactivate at a certain level, like 66 or 70? Will they not work in Dragonflight content, but work everywhere else? Well, the other day we got our answer, that tier set bonuses will no longer work on gear at all, day one of the 10.0 pre-patch. On its face, it sounds kind of cruel. It's like the artifact weapon deactivating on a smaller scale, but the feeling of loss is still there. Right? For some, yes, those cool bonuses are going away. For others, those cool bonuses are going to be somewhere on the new talent trees. Some legendary effects, covenant abilities, even artifact traits and abilities also on the new talent trees. Not to say you can have all of them at once, but you can have some of them at once. And the takeaway is that it's not so simple to say that tier sets going away equals bad. Personally, my initial reaction was like, aw, it seems like it's a little bit too soon. Maybe deactivating mid-leveling or at max level would do the trick. But consider how we would behave if these set bonuses did stay activated into Dragonflight. Pre-patches are always weird. Like, it's when game systems between two expansions are blurred and balance is almost totally thrown out the window. I mentioned before that some classes will have their tier sets attached to their talent trees, which means that during the pre-patch and until the point where tier set bonuses on gear would no longer work, player behavior suggests that, well, they shouldn't pick up those talents and instead go down another route and get more stuff intended because the tier sets would fill the gap. This would actually limit player choice if they had both the 2 and 4 set bonus. Legendary gear bonuses, on top of that, they still work after the pre-patch, however, they just won't work outside of Shadowlands content, meaning that they're not going to work while we're doing the pre-patch event stuff, the updated Uldaman dungeon, and so on. So I guess what I'm just trying to say is that thanks to the talent trees, we're already going to have to relearn our classes a little bit, and keeping set bonuses active gets in the way of that learning process. Doing it this way, day one of Dragonflight, we're not going to quite have that awkward feeling of loss. Over the weekend, the WoW team is testing the pre-expansion events, the Primal Elemental Invasions. I was there for the start, and the information that I have is a little bit spotty, but here's what I have to share. 4 regions on Azeroth are going to be under attack: Northern Barrens, Ungoro Crater, Tirisfal Glades, and the Badlands. The event isn't only for max level players. I tried it out on a level 15, on a level 50 character, and the mobs scale to your level, and the gear that drops that also scales to your level. The experience that you get is just kind of okay. I bet if you stack the likes of the WoW Anniversary buff and the Darkmoon Fair, which is going to line up, it's going to feel a little bit better, but for people who just want to mindlessly grind mobs and level up, it's not the worst idea. Invasions go on for about 2 hours, where there are a couple of points on the map, there are mobs that spawn around them, and there's also a big bad that appears every about half hour or so. Our job in these events is to clear out 100 or so mobs that hang around like elemental conduits of sorts that are scattered throughout the map. They make a big bad boss come out, and then we kill it dead for item level 252 loot that makes up a full set. There's also a currency that drops that lets you buy missing pieces. There's also a special heirloom that can drop, and you can make it by defeating each of the 4 kinds of elemental bosses that spawn. They might drop an item, you put it together, and ta-da! And even after the big bad is killed, the event is still active for a couple of hours, and you can farm these elemental infused mobs for, I guess, experience right now, until the boss respawns again, which happens like every 20 or 30 minutes. So now for some feedback. It's very early feeling, which is kind of bad. Consider that the pre-patch is coming soon, and even simpler events like these need the kinks worked out. As a collector, farming the currency is kind of a drag because even though the invasion lasts for 2 hours, the window when items actually drop, it only opens up for a few minutes every half hour. Because 100 mobs does not take too long to kill, and it's over before you know it. All the invasions also happen simultaneously all over the world, so we won't be able to complete more than one event before the others are over, most likely. I'm pretty sure that this is just a symptom of the event still being in test, but a few small tweaks would make this event better. First is to stagger the invasions and the events. Like set the timers so that if a player wanted to, they should be able to complete one invasion and then fly off, head off to the next one, and then the next, and then the next, so they can farm all the bosses in a complete circuit. Next, make it so that the currency always drops from mobs during the invasions, even while, waiting between bosses. That way people who just want to camp and farm mobs can do so. Also, instead of 100 mobs to activate the boss, make it like 200. It's the difference of just a few minutes, and it's not a big deal, but it'll help give time for players to farm and to participate. Also, the boss itself needs to last longer than a few seconds, so give it a nice HP bump to give more opportunities for people to tag it. And then finally, a little bit of an experience bump would help. It's kind of decent right now, but in my head, I'm thinking that if a player can gain like pretty close to a level per boss event, after XP bonuses and all that, then folks would be pretty happy. My personal feedback on the catch-up gear is pretty neutral. I think item level 252 gear is just fine with a balance of completeness at this stage of the expansion, and also with respect to leveling in the next one. But there have been a lot of foot and mouth reactions from players saying that it's not high enough, that it's got to be decent enough to really take these freshly leveled classes that you don't really know how to use out for a test drive like in normal raid difficulty or a high enough key. So I want to hear your folks' thoughts on this because I am not really getting it. I remember back in my day when I leveled up a class from the likes of the Legion Invasions or Korak's Revenge, it didn't matter what gear that I got from those. If I got triple mythic gear, I still wouldn't be trying to get into like high level content, like high level keys, because I probably don't even know what all the buttons do yet. Back in my day, this was how we tested classes, barefoot and in the snow. So yeah, your thoughts, please. And that's what I mostly looked at for this event. The Ultimate Dungeon is also available for testing, but I'll save that experience for later, and the Dracthyr will be playable as well. Now, we don't know the whole roadmap of what opens and when, but this feels like our standard delivery of pre-expansion content. It's got leveling for lobies, it's got catch-up gear for returning players, it's got unique transmog that collectors are interested in maybe, there's a dungeon to start practicing, and there's a new race. As for the beta, this week's build is pretty light with some focus on polish, although you wouldn't think so if you took a glance at all the visual bugs on the interface. Now, this is the first time in memory that I've seen the WoW team let a public-facing build go out like this in this sort of state. I'm going to put all the blame in them changing Tyrvite, that's the common Dragon Isles ore, into Ceravite, which now reminds me of a Pokemon. The beta, however, is still not what some folks in the industry would call feature complete, where all the things are testable. Now, we've been testing raids and dungeons and PvP stuff. World content is out there, all the zones and classes and professions are, they're still being worked on, but they are testable. And you know where I'm going with this. Like, work orders are still not testable yet, which means that, at least in my head, the beta is still not feature complete, and that's a growing cause of concern. Because unlike, say, the max level story campaign, work orders are a new and untested feature that we haven't heard about for a long time now. And to be honest, I don't know if there's really going to be a max level campaign sort of thing. I'm just assuming there is, but questing is not a new feature to test. Work orders are. And in fact, the NPC that used to be in town who would show us the placeholder UI for work orders, well, they're gone. I mean, there's a cool new map icon to show us where crafting orders can be set up, so I guess we're one step forward and one step back. Whatever, it's coming. And it's not like it's got to go live by the 25th of this month. There's still like, what, 6 or 7 more builds until it's definitely got to be working. And where gold is concerned, it's got to work right. Then again, the region-wide auction house went live and oh, that was a cluster. Dude, like at least they were in the right mind to do the auction house stuff in the 9.2.7 patch. Imagine if both launched at once. Oh, the game would just melt, and that's the show. So on Wednesday, I was like, OMG, I need to get KSM in like 2 weeks, and so I did like 8 keys in a single day. That's more keys than I'm pretty sure that I did in a single season of Legion. And I'm pretty confident that's more keys that I did in all of Battle for Azeroth, I think. And I gotta confess the obvious here. Keys alongside people you know are they're like really good. Okay, I actually wrote that into the script, and that just sounds really douchey, but it's not just the team, it's the gear that I slowly masked up from running a 15 every now and then. That very much paid off. In Dragonflight, I'm going to be challenged a little bit because 15s are good, they are going to help me progress kind of in parallel to my heroic progression if I choose to run them, but I'm not going to be able to like overgear it as I have been. So my last question to you all is, now that 15s are going to give a little bit less than what they used to, what are you going to do? Are you going to step it up because keys are what you do anyway? Or are you not going to bother because it's not the advantage that it used to be? So let's wrap it up with a big hello and a big thank you to our very generous subscribers over on Twitch. The follows and gifts have been absolutely amazing. And let's not forget our very generous patrons, including... Just kidding, but I really am grateful for what you folks give when times are tough. Next week is the last week of Shadowlands. It's your last chance to enjoy the pleasures of legendaries and soulbinds and conduits and... Okay, they're still technically gonna work after the patch, but whatever. And perhaps, maybe next week I'll help prepare you for what's coming in a survival guide. I'm looking forward to that and to share more knowledge and copium with you all. Please like this video, subscribe for more content, catch me on stream, and I'll see you later. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.